Welcome to the Afro Latina Show. I am your host, Alicia Ana del Santos, La Diosa Dominicana, La Santera. Welcome to episode 112. When was the last time you were happy? So last night, I watched with my love a movie that came out many years ago called The Hours. And I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about the movie because I still need to reflect on it. But it is the story of three women from three different time periods. Meryl Streep is a character. Um, I can't think of. Julianne Moore was in the Hours, and who else? She was married to Tom Cruise. Why can't I think of her name? Thank God for Nicole Kidman was in it. So it's Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore. They're the three women from three different time periods. Also just has a slew of amazing actors. Ed Harris is a main character. John Riley uh, and Claire Danes. So these three women, Nicole Kidman plays Virginia Woolf. Meryl Streep plays Clarissa Vaughn, and Julianne Moore plays Laura Brown. So, what I will say is that all of them were grappling with depression, sadness, unhappiness. I love that it all revolved around this Virginia Woolf story, Mrs. Dalloway, which I have not read, um, which I want to read. But this idea of happiness, and when was the last time we were fully and completely um, walking in that happiness and living with that joy? And so it made me think this morning, when was the last time I was completely happy? I think for the most part, the last few years, I would say the last 10 years have been incredibly hard because working tirelessly to build my career as a writer, working on the documentary Afro Latinos was incredible for my writer's journey. But taking me out of the country, I wasn't able to really publish here in the U.S., and so there were some things that didn't make me unhappy about the process. So it's interesting because Afro Latinos is a journey that I've loved so much, but there are also other projects that have had to be put to the side because Afro Latinos was the priority, and in a lot of ways still is the priority because it's so important to us that the story reach the masses and gain the success that it deserves. When was the last time I was happy? I wrote in my journal this is what I wrote. When was the last time I was completely happy, fully, in my truest form? I'm recalling a moment with Courtney dancing in the living room when we were cleaning, and I asked her to come dance with me. I always asked her to come dance with me to everything: hip hop, reggaeton, merengue, salsa, bolero, everything, freestyle. How she hated it. It embarrassed her, but I loved it. It made me so happy, spinning her around and around and around, creating our own dance moves, our own choreography that we did perform at her quince, actually, and dipping her. And let's see what I wrote. Let's see what rises. So I'm thinking about Virginia Woolf and that moment when you are fully, when you fully and completely lose all hope and faith that you could ever be happy again. And then I wrote this idea of writing and writing and writing your way to happiness. That was really interesting because when I think about my spiritual journey and my practice, a lot of the affirmations that I was writing, let's say 10 years ago, um, around the things that I wanted to call forth, weren't things that I necessarily believed to be true. They were things that I wanted to aspire to. There were things that I wanted so desperately to believe in for myself. And so, in having this practice of my morning ritual of like affirming these things and saying them repetition, 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 the intention was that if I say it enough, then perhaps I'll get to a place where I actually believe it. And one of the greatest, you know, desires and intentions for my life is this sense of striving for happiness and choosing happiness. And it's not easy. It's not easy when you're someone like me who suffers from depression and bouts of loneliness and sadness. And so, how do you connect to the happiness? How do you find that? You know, how can you get back there? I wish I had an answer. I wish I had an answer. What I know to be true is that there are moments. Happiness is fleeting. I had a wonderful conversation with my best friend Lalita yesterday, and we were talking about the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is something that just comes and goes. Joy is something that lives in you, that you walk with. Like understanding what happiness is. So I think I need to shift this desire for happiness because happiness is just like fluid. You know, one minute you're up and everything is gravy, and then the next minute something can happen and that happiness is gone. It can turn into sadness, anger, rage, disappointment, grief in an instance. But joy, when you're someone who walks with joy, even when things are fucked up and devastating, you still live joy. That requires mastery. I'm very excited about journeying, my journey to joy. I don't know how I'm gonna get there yet, but that's the work. That's today's work, right? Let's meditate. Get comfortable. Put your hands where you need them, face down, palms up. Just close our eyes. Y'all are looking lovely today. Let's inhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hold it. Exhale. Keep breathing calmly. I want you to think about the last time you were happy. Where were you? What did it look like? What were you wearing? Who were you with? What was the weather like? The last time you were happy. Mm. You have that vision? Mm. Now I want you to envision joy. What does joy look like? What was a moment you felt like your joy couldn't be shaken or taken from you or moved? That you, even when things are messed up, you didn't allow it to shake you because you have the joy. What does the joy mean to you? And how can you connect to the joy today? Joy can be found in the work that you do, in what you write, in the songs that you sing, in the music that you play, in the music that you dance to, in the movies that you watch, and the people that you surround yourself with. Who brings you joy? This joy of life, of living, of loving. How can you connect to joy? How can you get some of that? If there's someone you know that has the joy, how can you reach out to them today and say, yo, teach me that? How do you hold on to joy? Someone you admire, maybe hate a little. You're like, damn, This person's walking around with all this joy all the time. I can't stand it. It's only because we're jealous. We wish we could have that kind of strength and power that we want to hate on someone else's joy and happiness. How can we get a little bit of that for ourselves? Envy's an ugly thing. Jealousy's an ugly thing. But they're human things too, right? When we feel that, ugh, I can't stand that person's smile. I want to block them. They're too positive. We're being called to see something. Maybe we're too negative. And maybe that's why we don't attract. Maybe that's why we don't vibe. But maybe we're being called to see that and see what changes we can make to have it for ourselves. When you're ready, open your eyes. Where did I go? Where was the moment that I remember being most happy? It was a few years ago. I went to Far Rockaway Beach with my daughter. And it was a day that we were under the train and there was an earthquake in New York City. Now, we felt it kind of like a shift, but we kept it trucking. We kept going going to the beach because there was nothing stopping us from going to the beach that day. And mind you, there was nobody at the beach that day. We were not paying attention to the news. We did not know, how serious it could potentially be. So we're sitting on the beach and the wind is just like the sand is blowing onto our sandwiches. We had cold cuts, we had cocktails, we had blankets. We were chilling. It was kind of cool. It wasn't even like warm out. It was definitely not hot and it was dark. It was starting to get dark and we're like, yo, maybe we should be paying attention to what's happening. But we were chilling, we were talking, we were connecting, and we were soul exchanging joy and our love and our gratitude for life. And these are the times that her and I are like, yo, we don't care what's happening around us. We're in this moment present. And there could have been a tsunami. We could have been blown it in the wind. But we were still chilling. And that day just reminds me of all of the other days that I could connect to when I'm feeling unhappy, when I'm feeling like things aren't going my way, that if I can connect to my joy, I can connect to my peace. And that I have to consciously and intentionally and mindfully find ways to purposefully connect to that joy on a regular basis. Because it's not impossible. It just requires work. It's shifting our thoughts, right? We can stay in this moment, woe is me, life sucks. Or we can try to find the joy. There's a lot of negativity in the world. And I'm not trying to connect to that because that doesn't feel good. There's a lot of negativity. There are a lot of people who are broken, who are devastated. And so I'm sending them prayers, but I want to connect to joy because I want healthier ways to deal with the fucked up things that are coming my way, right? And so with that, I'll set an intention. My intention today is to be joy, to speak joy, to live joy, to love joy. I'm wishing you all the most amazing day. If you like what you hear, follow me on Instagram, Alicia La Santera, and the Afro Latina Show. Subscribe to my YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud. Leave your comments and reviews. Rate me. Retweet, repost, share. And if you want to connect with me and have an idea for a show, email me info.aliciaanabel@gmail.com. Wishing you all an incredible day. Peace.